Welcome everybody to another edition of Papa Bojo's Kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make my Papa Bojo's pizza dough. This is real simple. This is for a round pizza, not for the square deep dish. But this is a tried and true, and I'm sure you're going to love it. For this, you're going to need 4 cups of flour. Okay, you can use all-purpose flour. If you want to use 00, that's fine too. You're going to need, and this is for the dough portion, you're going to need that. You're going to need 1 tablespoon of salt, 3/4 of a tablespoon of sugar. You're going to need 1/4 cup of oil. I use vegetable oil. You can use olive oil if you want. And then you're going to need 1 1/4 cups of warm water. And that warm water, you're going to want to have a thermometer. If you don't have one, just make sure it doesn't go over about 115 degrees Fahrenheit. I try to get it between 105 and 115. If it goes 10, 11, or 12, that's fine. But you're going to need that warm water, and that's for the dough. For the yeast mixture, you're going to need 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast, or a package of rapid rising yeast. You're going to need 3/4 of a tablespoon, 1/4 of a tablespoon of sugar, and you're going to need 1/4 of a cup of warm water, again at around 105 to about 115 max. So let's get going and make this dough. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our salt into the dough. We're going to use our dough hook on our mixer, lock our mixer, and we're just going to mix the salt in. Next, you're going to take your water. You see right here it's at 111. I'm going to stick it in with the sugar. I'm going to get a fork. I'm going to stir this around, and I'm going to stir in my yeast. Now I'm going to let this sit for about 5 minutes until a foam appears on it. When your yeast is nice and foamy, like you can see here, that's after about 5 minutes. Then you take and you dump this right in the middle. If it doesn't get foamy, one of 2 things are wrong. Number 1, either your temperature was too warm, or it was too cold, or a third thing, your yeast might be bad. Next, you take your 1/4 cup of water, put your oil in with that water, and put that in. Then you take your mixer, lock it in place, and you slowly mix this. And as this is mixing, you now slowly add the rest of your water. And you're going to need a spatula now. Push down all of the flour. You're going to continue mixing until this comes to a ball, a small ball. Once this pretty much comes together, you want to check it out. And you see I've got a dough ball here that's coming together. Then what you're going to do is you're going to put your mixer on again. And you're going to set it at this speed. I got it on about 4. And you're going to go between 4 and 2. Okay, so you have at 4, you run it at this, and you see how it's kneading the dough. You do this for about maybe 1 minute, and then you slow it back down on 2. And run it total of 8 minutes going back and forth. You'll run the number 2 for probably about 3 minutes, and then put it shortly on number 4, and then back to 2, etc. After about 8 minutes, your dough should look like this. It should come off the hook clean, and it should be just a little bit sticky, just a little bit. Once we get the dough out of the mixer, you'll see it's nice and soft, but what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to knead it by hand gently for about 3 minutes. Your dough will now be nice and super smooth and soft and supple. What you're going to do is you're going to make a ball like this. Then you're going to take and you're going to oil the inside of a container. I prefer plastic over stainless steel, just because. And you're going to take your dough, you're going to put that in there, and you're just going to take and just roll it, just to give a coating of that oil all around the surface. Once you do that, push the dough down, you take a clean tea towel, you take this and you put it somewhere warm for 1.5 hours. Well, it's been 1.5 hours and we're back. And what I did is I actually made a second batch of dough. And the reason why I mentioned that is I used a new batch of flour, and when I made the second batch of dough, I want to tell you it wasn't as moist as the first batch, which that can happen depending upon the dough, depending upon where you live. You may need to use a little more water, a little less water, which is one reason why if you make your dough by hand instead of with a mixer, you can always make it exactly the same every time, because you get the feel for whether or not you have enough flour in it. So that's one positive for making it by hand. I like using a mixer because it's just more convenient. And even though this one might be a little drier, the primary basics are going to be the same for my pizza dough. It's still going to be good. So what we're going to do is we're taking this dough out, and we're going to take and we're punching it down, and we're going to knead it just for a couple seconds. And then we're going to make another ball. We're going to take and make sure it's got some oil coated in it. And then we're going to take our towel, we're going to cover it, and we're going to let it set for 1 more hour, and that'll be done. So the dough has rested for the last hour, and it's almost doubled in size. We're going to take it, we're going to push some of that air out of it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this dough and we're going to pinch it in half. And we're going to make 2 dough balls as equal as you can. And then what you're going to do is you're going to form it. You're going to stretch the outer skin. And you're going to create a nice dough ball like that. And do the same thing with this one. And this dough is just so nice and soft. It's perfect for pizza dough. And what you end up with are 2 perfect doughs for pizza. And that's how you make Papa Bojo's pizza dough. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope you're going to come back, and I hope you give this a try. Fresh pizza dough, making pizza in the oven, is much better than buying it and having it shipped from a restaurant or a store. And what I'm going to put in here in the first couple of pages, as you've already seen, I'm putting my recipe from my recipe book right in the first few pages, so you can take a look at not only how to make the dough, but also how to take and make the pizza with it. Again, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Papa Bojo's Kitchen. I hope to see you again. Buon appetito, everybody. Have a great day.